Okay, we're live now. All right, so does anyone have any thoughts on organizational culture? What types of culture you've experienced in the workplace? I can start. But I'm gonna go with do I believe leaders can shape culture? And I do believe leaders are able to shape culture. The book states that leadership and culture go hand in hand. Leaders are in a place to reinforce key values and intervene to challenge cultural assumptions. I can't remember. And create new symbols. Leaders are people who can get people to follow them. Since they can do this, it makes it easier to shape culture for them.
Mm-hmm.
And along with what was that?
No, go ahead.
I was saying along with cultures in the workplace, a lot of time, because right now I'm just minimum wage entry level jobs. A lot of time it's just a lot of negative culture because no one wants to be at work. No one wants to do the jobs they're assigned to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something that stood out to me was that effective leaders build cultures that are committed to learning. I think that's extremely important to throw out there, just because I think your whole goal as a leader is to make your team. You want to basically set up your team to replace you eventually. So that's going to take, making sure that they have the tools to, eventually take your spot. So I think, giving them the skills and the knowledge, and if they feel like they're empowered, that's going to help them make the next step.
Yeah, I agree. It's important. I didn't even think of that aspect, but yeah, you want them to take over your role. You want them to eventually be able to take over your roles.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that, just adding to what Michael said, just in taking your role, you want to make sure that you're preparing the right, person to take your role. You just don't want anybody to just take over, right? So as a leader, I guess, as a job of a leader, is being effective, of course, but also, influencing your members through the right direction, and with the right culture. Because any little mistake, can be, make this new leader who's going to take your position into influencing others, in a different or wrong direction. So continuing a culture from the beginning to when you are out of that company, when you are not a leader, is very important for that company. So.
Mm.
What about right now, in your companies? What kind of culture do you experience in your jobs?
For me, I would say no. Sorry, go ahead, man.
Well, I'm just a full-time student, and I drive Uber and Lyft on the side. But I've had an internship before. I did online, so I haven't really had much work experience with organizational or an organized community of workers. But from my experiences of little jobs I've had in high school, I think that usually the way that a manager manages we've had managers before that one is negative all the time, and when you work with him, you can just feel a negative vibe from everyone around, and no one wants to be there. And then I've had fun managers where you can tell that they like what they're doing, and their kind of outlook kind of determines the way their employees do their job. Back to what was that one cycle called? From our one post, I think it was chapter 8 post or something. Yeah, never mind.
No, I know what you're talking about. I don't know. I didn't know how to pronounce it, so I wasn't gonna try. Okay, but what were you saying, Michael?
Yeah, no, I think well, going off what Alex said, I think the entertaining type of culture, but it's also the leader needs to enjoy what they're doing. I think that if they're going to have a to enjoy them, they need to be able to spread that across the team. So I think enjoying what you're doing, and then also what I touched on earlier, which was committed to learning. I think my current position, they are focused on getting you as many opportunities as possible. So in my position, I'm kind of I have my specific roles and responsibilities, but if they see something in me, they're gonna have me do they're gonna put me in other opportunities. They're gonna have me go outside of what my normal roles and responsibilities are, and I think that I get a lot out of that, and that makes me want to work harder because they've obviously invested in me.
Yeah, I see what you're talking. Yeah, my job is my job, and that's it. And so I just go slow. Like if I get done early, my boss is like, "All you get to do is clean now, clean." And I'm like, "So you want me to go slower?" And she's like, "Yeah, go slower. You have nothing else to do." And I'm like, "Okay." It's so weird. I've never worked I just had this job a couple weeks, and I'm like, "This is so." I've never had a job where they didn't motivate you to learn more stuff.
Yeah. Just adding to what Alex and Michael said about, the leader needs to be happy and motivating their members for sure. But the important thing is what the leader does, or is reflects on his team members, right? So if you have a grumpy leader, if you have a bad leader, or if you have a good leader, that's how you're gonna shape your culture. That's how you're gonna shape your team, right? So if you have someone that's a bad leader, you're gonna end up having a bad team, right? So it's very important that as a leader, you're being positive, definitely not negative, engaging with your members, teaching them constantly. That's the right way for a successful leader to go. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think something else that I've experienced in my work, I don't know if you guys read about it, but the Galatea effect. The way my leaders have communicated their expectations to me, I think that it's always been a very open and honest type of relationship with my management, and I think that the fact that they've obviously invested in me, but also just told me that, hey, I have what it takes, but these are your expectations. It's motivated me, and it's caused me to work harder. So I think that was something that I got a lot of.
Yeah, and their expectations are realistic, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
When I was in high school, I worked at like a Champ shoe store, and so my manager would always tell us like you had to have like a certain number of your shoe sales. You have to sell like an article of clothing with them, or they'd be like, at the end of 2 weeks, you're gonna get fired. Which in my mind was always terrible motivation because there's really nothing you can do to make someone like want to buy a product at like a clothing store. Like there's like only like a limit of how much you can do, and it was just like this constant threat, and it was just I don't know, it was just negative, and it made me not like my manager, not like my job a little bit because you go out there and do the best you can do, and it kind of feels like your manager doesn't have your back, and it's just like a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going off that, I think something else that I've experienced with negative culture is one of my old managers in my previous so that meant they could take advantage of you. And she would always tell me, say that the person that was supposed to come in after me called off for whatever reason, was sick, then the expectation was that I stayed. There wasn't really any other it was just, hey, you have to stay for this. That's the expectation, your salary. So I think something like that, not having the understanding that, you know, your employees have, you know, other obligations and a life, I think that creates a negative culture.
That's a pretty good point, because a lot of times managers never think about other people having lives. Like at one point, I delivered pizzas, and like I would have my manager would call me in like the morning and like want me to come in and deliver one pizza because they were busy and then leave. And you know, it's kind of ridiculous, and that's not a good management style at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, luckily, I just have like my last manager was like just a very negative person. She was like, I'm too old for this job. This job's so much physical work. Like I'm broken down. My knees hurt. And she was complaining all the time, which you know caused everyone around them her to complain all the time. And it was just like at some point it's like unbearable to just be around all that complaining and negativity.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad, just business in general, for companies to have people like that in leadership positions, or just in general not know about it. And I mean, it's not good business. It doesn't look good for the company. I'm sure it affects whatever money they're making.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your guys' culture like right now at your current position?
At my job, it's positive. Nothing to complain about my current job, but it's the managers. We have 3 managers, and they're pretty helpful. They're very helpful, to be honest. They help each other, not just the management team, but they help, you know, the whole staff in general with whatever we need. They motivate us, you know, every week. Just not just through sales, but also, you know, performance wise and everything else. I believe I haven't had any negative feedback from a manager from my current job right now. But I have been through a negative culture in the past with my past job as a sales rep, in which the GM was a very good manager. He was very helpful, but his wife also worked there, and for some reason, she, you know, being the wife of the GM, she kind of wanted to take that same position, and which she wasn't in that same position, and the many employees didn't really like her because the way that she would talk to them, she would kind of, you know, talk us down. She would pressure us. She would threaten us. You know, so I kind of been on both sides of the coin, you know, and right now a positive. I've also been in a very negative culture before, so.
I'd say right now, like my manager, she's very energetic and yet very positive. Like some of the people in my department aren't like positive and aren't very happy, but like my manager, she's so energetic. She's all over the place, helping everybody with their jobs and just like leading her. She's a great leader. It's just amazing to see. I don't really think I've worked with anyone like her before.
Yeah, my manager. I think he's created a culture where we all enjoy working for him and we all want to work hard for him. And I think that's because of the way we, you know, our relationship with him, his emphasis on, you know, us enjoying the job. And I think it's something simple like, you know, him taking us out to eat and, you know, getting a drink or something like that, just being able to connect with him on a different level, and, you know, being able to talk about things outside of work. I think it's, you know, created a positive culture where we all enjoy working together.
Does anybody have anything else to add?
I'm good. Nice hat,
All right.
Alex. That's all I got.
Like,